Welcome to the Seven Figure Leaders podcast. This podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. And there you'll find the link to apply. Okay, so we are live, and today we've got Graham Stephen from BizVal. Graham, pleasure to have you. Welcome.
Tom, fantastic. Thanks for having me, and really looking forward to having this chat with you.
Great. So I guess the best place to start, why don't you tell us all a little bit about BizVal?
Sure. So, Tom, we started BizVal about 2 years ago. In fact, coming up on the 1st of July, it'll be our 2-year anniversary. And it was really born out of a passion. I was in corporate previously, and just before COVID in 2019, started, a fractional strategy, CFO kind of business. Let's call it a one-man consultancy. But I was working with, right-hand man to founders, helping them raise money, help them plan for exit, help them put a business model and strategy together, all those good things, very similar to, I guess, what you're doing in your business. And what we realized, I kind of met my current business partner. He was actually one of my clients. And we kept asking the question around to business owners, what do you want to do with your business? And a lot of business owners didn't know. They had some idea, maybe sell it one day, maybe raise some money, maybe hand it over to the kids. So there was a lack of clarity around what business owners wanted to do with their business. And then inevitably the second question, well, like, what's your business worth? And again, we found a lot of business owners didn't really have an understanding of that. There was a lot of sort of conventional wisdom around, it's 3x multiple, or I heard something from a friend at a pub, or, so not a lot of clarity. And the next step was they would go to their accountants who, with all due respect, the sort of tier 2, tier 3 accounting firms didn't really have the skills to be able to help them get any more clarity on that. And the bigger firms were out of reach financially for your sort of £1 million to £5-10 million business. They would be charging £20,000 for a valuation upwards. So that was the problem we identified. And being passionate entrepreneur myself, we wanted to solve that problem. We wanted to make it easy for business owners to understand the value of their business, and using that as a catalyst, basically unlock the potential of their business. So understand the value, understand the key drivers of that value in a quick, affordable, and pragmatic way, but with the deep science of all the investment banking theory and everything behind that. Not just kind of a lucky packet, but a really well thought through approach, but delivered in a very simple way for business owners. So that's kind of the very short version of the backstory to BizVal. We're all about empowering and enabling entrepreneurs, from any size business really, but focusing on the sort of £2 million to £20 million business, helping them understand and unlock the value of their business.
That's great. Well, thanks for that. And yeah, I can see the value that a platform like BizVal can provide. And there are some pretty frightening stats out there. Obviously, depends where you look, but people talk about 80%, 90% of businesses not being sellable or not being able to be sold. And so it sounds like this is something that business owners can use to basically spell out exactly what they need to do to actually make the business firstly sellable, but also sellable for the valuation that they want or need, for the next chapter of their life.
Tom, you're spot on. And it's horrible to say that, but kind of fear sells. That stat's absolutely correct. 85% of small businesses never sell. They simply shut down and, cease to exist over time. And yes, 15% go on to some sort of sale process, and maybe 20% of those, the owners get what they actually, thought they were going to get out. And we deliberately took the approach. We want to play into the 85% and help more of those become, successful in terms of exit. And there's a lot of people playing in the sort of 15% space, but we want to play in the 85% space. And Yeah, that's our journey, and it's always great to partner and chat to guys like yourselves who also on a similar journey, right? I mean, you've also been in the corporate space and uh, had that eureka or see the light moment when you realize you actually want to have an impact in a more sort of tangible and direct way.
Yeah. And so what's kind of the goal for BizVal? Where are you trying to take it? And is it you who runs it day to day?
Yeah, so I mean it's quite interesting. So our goal for BizVal is we want to be the go-to place for entrepreneurs. So we're actually targeting entrepreneurs themselves. We want to resonate with entrepreneurs to understand their value. And our goal is to reach 10,000 entrepreneurs a year. That's our, very simply stated goal. So we want to talk in their language. We want to reach them. We also need to practice what we preach. So, in terms of BizVal, it's not just me. We've got to, from day one, we've tried to build the business to not be dependent on me. And I'm very fortunate. My one business partner has been a very successful entrepreneur himself, built sort of 30 businesses over the last 40 years. So he's very passionate about what we do, and he's enabled us to have a bit of what I call hybrid bootstrap funding. So I guess that takes some of the pressure off from day one. My other partner has got deep corporate finance, investment banking background, and then we built a team of people who really understand business, are passionate about business, and as much as we have the technology to enable us to do valuations quickly, easily, and affordably, that team is really all about having a great relationship and building the trust of the entrepreneur that they're working with. So yeah, we're trying to build this, and we've outsourced a bunch of things, so we work with some fractional CFOs who help us with our bookkeeping and our planning. Our development team is a great dev house who, they're part of our team. We don't employ them directly. And we've taken that model to kind of build out a business that's not dependent on me. And at times it's hard, but I think it's the right way to do it if you can. Not everybody has the luxury of having let's call it a benevolent, I wouldn't say silent partner, but partner who can provide a little bit of cash flow support when you need it and all those kind of things. So we've been in a fortunate position. But I think we've also had our moments where it gets pretty hairy. So we really understand and appreciate what entrepreneurs go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I can imagine. Excuse me. So is it, are you a global business? Are you focused on a specific market?
Yeah, so I think in today's world, I mean, you'll hear by the accent. I'm based in Cape Town in South Africa. I do have dual citizenship. My mother's family is originally from the UK, so it makes life easier. But we, from day one, have set out to solve a global problem. We just happen to live in Cape Town, where we have access to great weather for one, great skills, and we really are intentional about, I guess practically speaking, building this out in English speaking world. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I'm learning French, but I can't speak it that well, and so the UK is a big market for us. The US, and I say that rather, the US is lots of different markets in many ways, but that's our ambition, is to serve those clients. We've got partners on the ground in the UK. We're busy talking to partners in the US to kind of support us with on the ground business development. Sometimes we do have face-to-face workshops with customers, for instance. But at our heart, we are a technology-based business. We've built the technology to enable that. I call it tech and touch. I'm stealing a phrase. Um, and things like Zoom and technology allows you to run a business anywhere in the world. So we don't want to be constrained by those borders. And I think we've got a lot of value to add to entrepreneurs the world over.
Okay, great. And so how do you, I suppose there's a number of different answers to this. How do you recommend that a business owner uses your platform? How often should a business owner get a business valuation? Like the obvious answer would be someone who's about to sell their business. But
Yeah.
from my perspective, given what I do, I know that, preparation for a sale needs to happen years before any sale is expected to happen. Otherwise, the likelihood of any business owner falling into that 80% not selling is extremely high. So what's the way that you design the tool, or you intend for the tool to be used for a business owner's full life as a business owner?
Tom, great question. I think I'll use a quick story or analogy. I'm of the generation. My parents are in their early 70s, and I think the first time my dad ever like had a cholesterol test was when he was like 60. So for the first 60 years of his life, he'd never bothered with something like that. Whereas I went for a checkup when I was in my early 20s, and my doctor said, "Hey, you need to check your cholesterol's a bit high." And I had a hereditary condition. And every year I go and get my cholesterol test. And I think you're absolutely right. Traditionally, people think, "Oh, I need to get a valuation done when I'm ready to sell my business." But we look at it through the lens of, actually, a business valuation is like a physical health check in a way. You don't want to be 45 years old, going for a run and you drop dead from a heart attack because you had something that you didn't know about or you weren't properly prepared. And I know it sounds rather morbid, but that is the reality. There are tools and things available to be able to health check your person, but as a business, we certainly believe that a proper business valuation is one of the best tools to actually unpack the health of your business. So whilst the number of your valuation is important and understanding what that is, the elements that drive value are probably more important. So that's where our emphasis is helping you understand what your value is now, also helping you understand what are the levers that you can pull to be able to change that over time. And we have a scenario tool which allows you to say, what if I implement these different strategies? What can that mean? Now, obviously, we do the usual things, like I've got a partner separation and they need a valuation done, or tax planning and they need a valuation done. We do that, and our tool enables that, but that's not our primary focus. Our primary focus is to engage with BizVal to help you understand your value in simple terms. And I say simple on the front end, that I can have a conversation with the business owner in non-technical jargon that he understands it. But in the back end, we've got all those, complexity to make it simple in the front end. And that's how we would like the tool to be used, as a catalyst almost for business owners to start that process. And as you say, that process doesn't actually start, a year before you want to sell your business. That process actually starts probably when you start the business or a year after starting the business. Building a business to be sale ready requires a mindset. And it's actually often hardest when guys have built a successful business for 20 years, when they are the business, it's built around them. Sometimes it's very hard for those business owners, even in a 2 or 3 year period, to not just prepare technically, and I mean in terms of getting your accounting records and your succession and all of that ready, but emotionally. So that's part of the reason why we want business owners to be aware of what we do and engage us early. And we've tried to bring it in at a price point where you don't think you're going to have a heart attack just by doing the valuation, so to speak. So that's kind of how we think about it, Tom.
Yeah, that's great. And on that point, actually, the way I often, have conversations with my clients is whether you want to sell the business or not, whether it's, sell the business in 5 years, work one day
Yeah,
a week in 5 years, work 5 days a week, but just doing the stuff that I want to do. The
yeah.
way you build the business is exactly the same, and that is to
Mm.
essentially maximize the cash flow that you as the business owner can take out whilst reducing the risk as
Yeah,
much as possible. So it doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter what the end goal is. The way you start, the way you start from the beginning is basically the same way. And obviously, and so your tool
mm.
actually, would it spell out kind of what those risks are and what a business owner, well, not necessarily what a business owner can do to mitigate them, but what those risks are, and essentially they're going to be able to work out from that what they need to do.
100%. So that's exactly how our process works. We go through sort of a 5 or 6 step process where we unpack very simply, understanding your business, understanding how it makes money, understanding things like the balance sheet, and understanding your growth plans and what those look like. Okay. And the tool kind of guides and facilitates that. And in practice, we then have a session with the customer where we actually have that discussion and discuss it with them. Now, in our basic offerings, that's a 30-minute online Zoom call where we go through the valuation, we explain that to you, and we explain to you how to use the scenario tool to do that. We obviously have more high touch offerings, which will include, let's kind of 2 hours of consultation time, and a slightly more detailed report where we actually step those things out, step by step. And then we also have an exit readiness assessment, which is kind of sort of the end of the spectrum, so to speak. So, that's how we go through the process. Again, we don't want this to be something that is long and drawn out and long-winded and all those sorts of things. We want it to be simple and easy to use, and we want it to be something that, I'll just touch on this briefly, is we also love working with guys like yourselves, fractional CFOs, business coaches, and that, because it's a tool that they can use with their clients. So we don't go and do the coaching and the implementation and that beyond, primarily because, we want to specialize in the valuation, but we also want to be independent. So I have this saying that we often tell business owners what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Not everybody loves to hear that, but you need to know that if there's something that needs addressing, you want somebody to tell you. You don't want them to pat you on the back and say, hey, you're doing a great job. And meanwhile, Rome is burning, so to speak.
Absolutely. And so do you have any stories you can kind of reel off just to help anyone listening just see how they might be able to see this kind of fit into their their story over the next few years?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'll use two very quick stories. I mean, one, again, it sounds like I'm talking very morbidly, but one was actually a business where, not around exit, but one of the partners died in a car accident, was two shareholders. And he had basically left his shares to his spouse, who had no interest in the business whatsoever. And he had to buy out the business. Well, the partner had to buy out the business. But the problem was the business was worth close to 4 million quid. And there was 400,000 quid in the bank account. They hadn't taken out buy, sell, or key man insurance because that was an unnecessary expense. I'm using that as a first example because in that case, if they had have understood their valuation, they had built that, planned for that eventuality, they would have taken out an appropriate amount of key man insurance, for argument's sake, that would have helped prevent that. The other example, I guess, is we had an example of a client who actually got an offer for their business from a private equity fund. Okay. And the number was a big number. Okay. It was, 10 million pounds, which for that owner was a lot of money. They were, thinking they were going to go take the deal. And they came to us and said, listen, I think it's a good deal. Can we just do a valuation? And we actually went through the valuation and realized that this business was actually worth closer to 18 million pounds. Okay. And the business owner wanted to sell because, one, they thought 10 million sounded like a good number, and two, they'd actually fallen out of love with their business. They were quite entrenched in it. They were, working, like a slave in their own business, and they just wanted out. But what we were able to show them, one, is that their business was actually worth a lot more. And we were actually able to show them, with a little bit of TLC and a few fine tweaks and making a few changes in the business, that it could actually be worth substantially more. And they actually walked away from the deal because they realized they were shortchanging themselves. Now, I mean, we've got thousands of stories like that every day. We've got thousands of stories that work the other way around as well. When buyer comes along and he gets a great offer and we say, look, your business is worth 2 million pounds. And for whatever reason, it's a strategic buyer that's approached them and they've put 5 million on the table. And in that instance, we say to the owner, take the money and run. So I think those are the real stories that we have day in and day out. And we're just passionate about helping entrepreneurs ultimately make the best decisions for them. Sometimes that's a sale, sometimes that's staying in the business, sometimes that's actually, being a silent shareholder and having somebody else run the business and you draw a nice dividend every year. Every story is going to be different.
Yeah, great. Well, Graham, thanks very much. If anyone who's listening to this thinks, well, I need to either have a look at BizVal or I need to go on there and, I need a business valuation or wants to get in touch with you and have a chat, how should they do that?
Yeah, so the easiest option is to visit our website. So that's www.bizvalglobal.com. They can also reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, or they can email myself. It's Graham, Graham, at bizvalglobal.com. That's probably the easiest way to get hold of us. And Tom, yeah, maybe we can just leave some of the contact details either in the comments below, or I'm sure they reach out to you. You can also connect us. Yeah, very happy to chat, and love engaging with entrepreneurs. There's no obligation, so even if somebody just wants to say, hey, I want to find out a little bit more, drop us a line and we'll have a chat.
Right. Well, yeah, it'll be easy for them to get in touch with you. There'll be a link somewhere around the podcast. So yeah, Graham, thank you very, very much for telling us about BizVal. Excited to see BizVal grow and help lots of business owners over the next few years. And yeah, good luck.
Tom, and to you, thank you so much, and really appreciate you giving us the airtime on your podcast. And even if it reaches one entrepreneur who's worrying or thinking about this, job well done. You change the world one step at a time. So thank you, and have a great day further.
Thanks, Graham. Pleasure.
Thanks for listening. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. On that page, you'll find the link to apply.